All right, let's dive into one of the biggest, most exciting shifts happening in artificial intelligence right now. We're talking about creating AI that doesn't just read text, but can actually see, hear, and understand the world in a way that feels, well, surprisingly human. So, let's kick things off with a question. Imagine you're watching a video. Someone spills an entire coffee on their new laptop and says, with a totally deadpan voice, "Oh, that's just great." You get the sarcasm instantly, right? But how on earth does a machine get that joke? Well, here's the secret. It's not just about the words. An AI can't just read, "That's great," and take it literally. No way. To get the sarcasm, it has to listen to that flat, annoyed tone of voice and see the frustrated look on the person's face. It's only by combining all three of those signals that it understands the real meaning. And that right there, that's the very core of what we're talking about today. So we're really moving beyond AI models that are, kind of one-dimensional, ones that can only read or only see. This whole idea is what we call multimodal AI. It's about giving technology a much more complete, holistic way of understanding information, a lot like how we use our own senses. Think of it like this. Your classic AI, what we call unimodal, is like having only one sense. It might have great hearing or great sight, but it can't use them at the same time. A text chatbot is a perfect example. But multimodal AI, it brings all of those senses together. It can look at images, listen to audio, and read text all at once to get the full story. And that brings us to the more, let's say, textbook definition. The key word here, the one that changes everything, is simultaneously. This isn't about an AI just switching from one task to another. It's about it truly weaving together all these different streams of information to build a much deeper, more context-aware understanding of the world. Okay, so how does this actually work under the hood? It sounds incredibly complicated, I know, but we can actually break down the basic architecture into a few steps that make a lot of sense. The best way to get your head around this whole architecture is just to think about your own brain. It's constantly taking in information from your eyes, your ears, your sense of touch, and then it merges all of that together to figure out what's going on. Multimodal AI is basically trying to copy that same process. The whole thing really boils down to this simple three-stage loop. First, the AI perceives the world through all its different inputs. Then it reasons about what all that information means when you put it together. And finally, it takes action by generating a smart response. Let's break down each stage. So stage one is encoding. Think of it as perception. Let's say you give it a video. One part of the AI, its eyes, is looking at all the visual frames. At the same time, another part, its ears, is listening to the audio. Each of these modules converts its data into a special numerical format, basically a universal math language that captures the meaning of the input for the AI's main brain to process. Next up is fusion. And honestly, this is where the real magic happens. This is the brain of the whole operation. It takes those separate streams of data and just starts weaving them together. It's looking for patterns and connections, asking things like, okay, how does this person's tone of voice relate to the words they're saying? And how do both of those things connect to what's physically happening on the screen? That process is what creates that rich, contextual understanding. And finally, we get to decoding, or the action phase. Once the AI has this unified understanding, it has to actually do something with it. The decoder's job is to take all that complex internal thought and translate it into one single useful output. That could be writing a caption, speaking an answer out loud, or even generating a completely new image. So that's the theory behind it all. But what does this actually look like out in the real world? Well, the applications are already here. And they're pretty incredible. Take a simple prompt like this, a text-only AI, it would be completely lost. An image-only AI could probably tell you there's a cat and a table, but it couldn't tell you what's funny about it. Humor is all about context, and that goes way beyond just identifying pixels in a picture. So here's how a multimodal AI cracks the code. First, it sees the visual joke, a cat sitting at a dinner table, like a tiny furry person. Then it reads the caption to understand the owner's intent. My cat thinks he's people. And by fusing those two inputs, it gets it. The humor comes from that shared, relatable absurdity of treating our pets like humans. That combined insight, that's something only a multimodal system could pull off. This technology is moving forward at an absolutely breathtaking speed. So as we look to the future, what can we realistically expect? And what are the huge hurdles we still have to clear? I mean, on one hand,
The possibilities are just mind-blowing. Think about truly conversational assistants that get your tone and gestures, or medical tools that diagnose diseases by combining scans, patient histories, and audio cues. But, and this is a big but, the challenges are serious. These models are incredibly expensive and power-hungry to build and run. And finding good data is a massive challenge, because you don't just need text or images, you need huge data sets where video, audio, and text are all perfectly synced up and labeled. And all of this leads us to one last really big thought. As these AI systems get better and better at seeing and hearing our world in a human-like way, our whole relationship with them is going to change. So I'll leave you with this question. As AI gains more senses, where do we draw the line between a tool we use and a collaborator we truly work alongside? Something to think about, right? Thanks for diving into this with me.